You heard from Mark, and you've met his children. Hope that you got something from that interview. Now we're going to talk about the paper by Lynn White, who's a historian. I actually had him come to a lecture years ago to lecture to a group on this issue of ethics and technology. What he basically is saying is that, Western world's technology, which was, he's saying and showing, was derived in many ways from the technology that existed in the Arabic world. And the great intellectual people there, technical people, scientific types, particularly how they viewed technology, how they, relative to that thought structure, was picked up by the West and built upon. And as a consequence, when you look at the way technology exists today, well, we get our problem defined, we look at different solutions that we can produce, and we pick what might be the best one in view of the time and money that we have available, or the resources, and we'll apply that to the best of our ability. So anyway, Lynn White was talking about this, and the thing that caused a great controversy, he said, the problem is the Western world has a strong Christian influence, Judeo-Christian influence. And it's that particular influence that gives us a disregard or the inability to think more about impacts on our ecosystem. Where did this problem of Christianity or Judeo-Christianity ethic come into being? Genesis 1 out of the Bible, verses 26 through 31. What do we see in that verse? Godlike, all-powerful, dominion, control, subdue. I don't know about you, but those are pretty powerful words. We're in control, right? And we can do what we want. And in the biological world, we're already creating new kinds of bacteria that never existed, or new kinds of, we can genetically manipulate food. We can genetically manipulate mice, for example, for medical experimentation. Whatever it is, we're constantly moving toward creating life forms. Well, do you think that's what Lynn White really is? He's saying that, well, it's because of that point of view that, dominion and we're godlike and the like that is what's really driving us. Well, I'd like to share with you a paper written by Matthew Riley, who's from Yale, a very fine university here in the U.S. And he's saying, wait a minute, I don't think we're really understanding what White is all about. And he talks about the problem about what White experienced as a young 19-year-old. He was in Ceylon, which I believe is Sri Lanka now, off of the coast of India. And some people were building a road from a seaport to a tea plantation so that they could get their product to market. And he noticed that the workers in the road were leaving mounds of dirt in the road. They were just, the road was, they'd have a path and then there'd be a mound here and a mound there. And he thought this was unusual. And so when he asked why these cones were being left there, he was told that they were snake nests, and the laborers who were building the road had left them undisturbed out of respect for the animals that live there. They were spared not because workmen were afraid of snakes, remarked White, but because of a feeling by the workers that the snake had a right to its house so long as he wanted to stay there. This was due, he was surprised to learn, to the fact that local laborers were Buddhists and that their religious beliefs and values invited them to see animals much differently than their overseers, which happened to be British. British guys were running it, the workforce. These Buddhist workers felt that, we have a right to our house, that animal has a right to its house. That kind of got White interested in this topic. And I think if you read these two papers and you look at what Riley's saying, you're going to come to realize that with our freedom, we have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to treat the natural world we've been given such that it's going to be available to those in the future that come in the future, just like it is to us, if not in better form. One thing you might wrestle with and try to write out or kind of discuss with your friends, it's an assignment I gave students in my class here. I said, why don't you write down the criteria or the basis upon which a socially responsible firm should follow after having read White's paper and Riley's paper and thinking about it. Very interesting, very timely. Do it. Now, the next interview is going to be, as I said before, with Charles Gehring, who is the CEO of Life Care Alliance, which is a unusually large and unique and wonderful, really, in my sense, a help organization. Now listen to what Chuck has to say.